What up, everybody? This your boy B-Rob back at you again with another podcast, number 10. Honestly, this is my 10th podcast, and I never really thought that I would make it this far. I usually have the habit of picking things up, starting it with a head full of steam, and then quickly losing interest in it and putting it down. But since I started doing these podcasts and everything, reaching out and not touching like inappropriately, but getting in touch with some of my old friends and colleagues and everything, it's keeping me going, and the support from the community that's listening to the podcast, that keeps me going as well, because now that I have I guess a fan base, you would say, I feel obligated to present this content weekly. I would have had this posted last night, but The Walking Dead re-entered my life, and so I put it on hold. So I'm not putting it off. I'm not succumbing to procrastination. I'm doing it right now. I'm talking to you. You feel the electric in my voice muscles, and you feel the excitement in my voice and all my glories in things. But as always, I'd like to thank you, the listener, whoever you may be listening to this podcast right now. And I post this up on SoundCloud, every week after I record and everything. And I like to look at the analytics. I like to see where people are listening from. And if you don't mind, it doesn't matter if you don't mind, because if you're playing the podcast, I'm going to say it anyway. But if you do mind, feel free to mute it or skip ahead, which I recommend you don't do, because you tune in to listen to me ramble about random things and stuff. But I'm going to go ahead and list the places that this podcast has been listened to from. Bahrain, the Dominican Republic, Hungary, Mexico, Italy, Oman, South Africa, Singapore, Belgium, the Czech Republic, Thailand, Brazil, Australia, Germany, Ireland, Canada, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, and LATVIA. I'm terrible with names and pronunciations, so the 4 listens that I got from there, if it's from the same person or multiple people, I apologize. What's that, Latvia? I apologize for butchering your country's name, and I work better on my pronunciations and stuff like that. But to all of you, I truly and honestly appreciate you taking the time out of your day, week, month, year to listen to the podcast. It means a lot to me, and yay. You hear that? That's my hand claps. I'm clapping for you. So, with that being said, you can reach me on Twitter at RRR_podcast. That's 3 R's _podcast. We also have a Facebook page. When I say we, I mean you too. I mean, it's for everybody. I don't do anything but post random videos and pictures from my Instagram feed and Twitter feed on there anyway. So, feel free to put some of your random things. Give me some random ramblings and whatnot. Type up some stuff and things of that nature. So you go ahead onto your Facebook account, go up to the search bar, type in Random Ramblings with Rob. That's me. That's the show. That's what we do. We ramble about random things. So, yeah. Something else that I've seen, not really seen, but because of this show, I've been able to meet, different people. They got everybody over there at the wrestling court. I said it before, I'm real into wrestling. And they host a wrestling podcast. And I just like the way how they book things. From their perspective and what they would do, vice what's actually going on television. So if you have a chance to get into wrestling like I am, go ahead and give the Wrestling Court a listen. You can find that on the iTunes, Podomatic, and everywhere else that you download your podcast from. And I was able to meet this gentleman over in Australia by the name of Gareth. It should be sometime this week. He is approaching his 100th-ish episode, I think. Well, they're saying it's going to be their 100, so it is what they say it is because it's their damn show, so fuck it. I would like to wish him a happy 100th episode on Gareth's Random Ramblings. That's kind of how we made the connection there. It's Random Ramblings with Rob, and he has Gareth's Random Ramblings. So as a joke on Twitter or whatever, he was like, maybe we should do a mashup. And I simply responded, I'm down. And then we got together in direct messages, and we tried to hook it up. I know it's like a 14-hour time difference between here and there, but it shouldn't be a problem to do it if we're going to do it. So I done put it out there on the airwaves, so it's got to come to reality sooner rather than later. So Gareth, once again, congratulations on your 100th-ish episode, and keep on doing what you're doing. You and your old lady over there, you got some good content for the listeners, and I look forward to more episodes from you all. So keep them coming. What else we got going on today? This weekend, I went to a wrestling event. Yay, because I love wrestling, right? I help out a local organization called Central States Championship Wrestling. They're an affiliate of the NWA. That's not in words with attitude, but it is the National Wrestling Alliance. So they do monthly shows here, and whenever I get the opportunity, I get volunteers to come help set up the ring, provide security, take pictures and all kind of stuff like that. And that's basically it. I mean, I love wrestling so much that, I do anything within my power to try to help it succeed. And this is me contributing to the wrestling community. So anything they ask of me, I'm pretty much there on the front line trying to help them out. So we had a show this weekend, and I say we because I help, and I feel like I'm a part of it, so I feel that I am authorized to say we. Yeah, I said it. And it was a good show. I do a lot of stuff for them. I put stuff up on their Facebook page, which you can find on Facebook, NWA CCW. And I set them up an Instagram account at the show on Saturday. So that was pretty cool. I kind of did it on the fly. I was like, they didn't have any, because I thought it's cool to have it on their Facebook or whatever, but some people just don't like to go through all that clutter and all that content associated with Facebook, random postings from other users and, just other blah, 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 blah. They want to see pictures. They want to see some action. They want to see some videos. So I thought an Instagram account would be good for them. So I made them up an Instagram account. You can look that up at NWA_CCW. Usually when you type that in the search block, it'll just it'll pop up with no results. You have to click on the people tab. So when you click on people, it'll come up under NWA_CCWs. Not W's, but W. So yeah, I took a whole bunch of pictures from that event. I got a couple of video clips. I even had some Periscope action going on. So if you go to their Twitter account at NWACCW, all together, no spaces or anything, you can see some of the Periscope videos that I did. And it's cool because, it's me helping. I love wrestling. I even tried for a while, I might have said something about it on the first podcast, that I tried it. I got in the ring and I got body slammed, suplexed, got down clotheslined, which hurt really bad. And yeah, it fucking sucked. But I would do it again in a heartbeat if called upon to do so. I had a lot of fun training. We have one of the students there, freaking Rhonda. which you can follow her on Twitter. She talk about a whole bunch of crazy shit. And, you know, I got to pull up my phone and look for her daggone Twitter account, because I want you to follow this person, because she half retarded like myself. And it's Harlot. I know I got it. Boom. And you can find her at Harlot's Heart. That's HARLOTSHEART. And, you know, I feel like I got to spell things out all the time, because if you're like me, I can't spell for shit. So got to have somebody spell it out for me sometimes. So, I mean, you follow her freaking Facebook. I'm on there right now. And just about every tweet she got, whether she hanging out with a kid and everything, is some kind of wrestling related. I'm looking at one of her posts right now. It's talking about Follow the Buzzards, Bray Wyatt, and it got Eric Rowan on there. It's her and her kid posing with a little sheep. So, kind of stuff you get like that. And she talking about fucking 50 Shades of Grey because she into that crazy shit. I'm going to probably put the freaking video up on the Twitter account, which, once again, you can access by searching RRR_podcast. That's 3 R's _podcast. The video of her getting hit with a piece of bamboo and hit with a steel chair for her birthday, because that's what she wanted for her birthday. And boom, it is posted. Y'all can look that up. Some funny shit. But this chick is crazy. She like to get her ass whipped. I guess that's why she like wrestling. And while we're on the topic of wrestling, WrestleMania is not too far away. It's down there in Dallas, Texas, and I will be attending. And I'm so freaking excited. This is my second year in a row going to a WrestleMania. Last year, it was on my birthday. So that was like, it was on my bucket list to do. And it fell on my birthday. It was just an amazing experience. I met some cool people down there. You know, all fellow wrestling fans. And some which I still keep in contact with today. Shout out to my boy Randy and Nate. You got Randy, you can follow him on Twitter at Randy G4. And yeah, he was one of the cool cats that I met up there, him and his homeboy Nate. And we just wound up sitting together, luck of the draw. You know, that's where the tickets put us. And we sat there and we just, you know, marked the fuck out for wrestling and shit. The Undertaker entrance, it was kind of cool because, like, you being there live is way different from watching it on TV, obviously. I mean, you can only see so much. But when you're there live, you see them setting up things for the stage and, you know, things you wouldn't catch, you know, watching it on television. And if you're a wrestling fan and never been to a WrestleMania, I highly recommend that you go, because there's no other experience wrestling wise that can compare to that I've experienced so far. Those of you that are way more hardcore than me can probably tell me some other events or functions that are way better than WrestleMania, but I highly doubt it, because yeah, WrestleMania is the motherfucking shit. And poo and pee and all that other crazy shit. Just a couple things going on with me. After 16 years of service in the military, I'm going ahead and deciding to hang up the boots. It's been something that I've been thinking about for a long, long time, but now it's actually coming to fruition. This week I'll be going through my separations classes. You know, they give you tools and everything to help you on the outside, and you know, they're helping out, giving me a better understanding what I'm to prepare for and what to look forward to in the outside world. And as far as the military, I'm gonna miss it, but not so much miss it. You know, the Marine Corps has been outstanding to me. It's been a second family. And, you know, I'm going to miss certain aspects of it. I'm going to miss mostly the people. Not all of them, but a few of them. And, you know, that camaraderie, that brotherhood that, you know, we shared as military members and specifically Marines. So within the next couple months, I'll be stepping on out, you know, making room for the next generation to follow up behind me. And I'll be one of them. Well, I'm not old yet, but I'll be, when I get older, when I grow up, I'll be one of those crusty old farts walking around with my daggone foreign wars hat and shit with all my little badges and whatnot, talking about back in my day when I was in the Corps, we wasn't allowed to walk around and chew bubble gum and put our hands in our pockets and all kind of stuff like that. So I'm going to be that dude. And then what else I'm really looking forward to is some facial freedom. I ain't talking about no erotica shit, but I'm talking about having the ability to grow out my facial hair and stuff like that. So, yeah, I got the Instagram account, so y'all be seeing lots of the face transformation as far as the facial hairs and stuff grow. Through this podcast, once again, like I said, like Gareth and the fellas over there at the wrestling court, I've not so really met, but I was afforded the opportunity to talk to a lot of different people, like the guys, or our guy, I don't know if I talked to them both or one of them, at the 8-Bit Jobber Podcast, which is a cool podcast because they talk about two of my favorite things. Essentially, it's the same subject, but it's two different things because they talk about wrestling and they talk about video games. And how they correlate together is they talk about wrestling video games. Booyah. Brings them both together. So, I mean, I'm into wrestling, so I'm into the wrestling video game world as well. And that's what they cover. They cover all the vintage wrestling games. And it just shows you how much of a small world it is. When I was talking earlier about helping out the promotion that I help out, NWA CCW, they had on their second episode a guest, Marcelo Spade. He's the Anarchy Pro heavyweight champion. And I've met him. You know, he came and he did a couple shows for Central States Championship Wrestling. Him and his tag team partner, Shane Fury. And, you know, I've met these guys. I mean, you know, we didn't hang out and drink beers and shit or nothing like that. But, you know, I've met him on a social level. You know, I talked to him, got his Twitter handle and everything, because whoever participates in these shows, I like to get their Twitter handle so I can, you know, retweet their name with some photos that I may have taken or match updates and stuff like that. So I've met this guy, and to hear him on another podcast was kind of like, oh, shit, I know that guy, you know? And then it was just cool. Small world. But speaking of podcasts, since I got this thing going, like I said, I'm 10 episodes in, 10 more than I thought it would be. And I think I'm going to make that a running thing. As long as I'm putting out podcasts, I think every 10 episodes, I'm not going to say do something big, but, you know, I'm going to acknowledge the fact because, I mean, it's a big step for me. And I want to try to keep this thing going because it's starting to get interesting. I got some trying to get some guests lined up. You know, some of my former service member buddies that I've worked with. What I want to do is just go at random on Twitter and just start pulling names, you know, shooting them some direct messages, seeing if they want to be on the show. Shit, plug your podcast, plug your book, plug your movies. I say these things because as I look at my Twitter account for the show, I'm getting follows from, you know, writers, directors, actors, and fellow podcasters. So, I mean, why not? I mean, you're on the internet promoting this stuff because you want to be known for your craft. So why not, you know, freaking use all that is available to you? Here I am. I'm here for the world. I am providing you with a platform to push your product. You know, I might not have a big audience as some of these other podcasts or whatever, but I'm looking at the analytics. I mean, I have somewhat of a listenership. So, I mean, every little bit counts. So here I am. This is me. This is Rob speaking to the world. This is an open invitation. It doesn't matter what you want to talk about, whether it be self-promotion or promoting someone else or just to talk random shit with Rob. The door is open for you to come on to my show and we can just chat it up and we can do whatever you want to do, because why not? The platform is here for you to use. My invitation is extended. So that goes for anybody. And what else we got going on? I keep talking about my Twitter account and all these followers that I'm getting. So I want to go ahead and shout out some of the new ones that I got. I think last time I left off with the Sketch Comedy Podcast, which I didn't have the freaking Twitter handle for, which I got it here now because I have my account visible. And it is SketchComPod. And that's SketchCompod. And I'm gonna read directly from their freaking profile description. It's an award-winning, original, lightly scripted, and improvised comedy made with loving care in Portland, Oregon. In Portland, Oregon, not and Portland, Oregon. And what else? Who else I got on here? We have, move my mic over a little bit. This is a podcast. I know this is a podcast, but the name of their podcast is This Is a Podcast. I don't know if I gave them a shout out on the last episode, but I know what, okay, that was This Freaking Podcast. Not This Freaking Podcast, but that was the name of the other podcast. This Freaking Podcast. So shout out to those guys doing that thing. But this is a podcast. You can follow them on Twitter at This Is A, all one word, _ podcast. Okay, what they got in the description? Hardly the voices of a generation that says things most people wouldn't. The only good thing about Mondays. You can find all their podcasts on iTunes and other awesome podcast providers. So we got that. Who's next? We got the 2 Cents Podcast. You can follow them on Twitter at the number 2 Cent Podcast, all one word. And their description says, this is a podcast that pokes at holes in our understanding of the world. So, yeah, I guess they're finding the loopholes into what we know as American history or entertainment or as society as a whole. I mean, I don't know. I never listened to the podcast yet, but I will eventually, and then I'll probably give you a report back. Who else we got? Books versus movies. I haven't listened to this one yet. I just recently got this follow. Seems a little bit interesting to me. What they do is they try to find, what's best as far as movies versus the books that they come from. It sounds interesting or whatever. And, I like, let's say, I don't read a lot. And then whatever I do read is probably like some kiddie shit or whatever. Like I've read the whole Percy Jackson series and whatever. And I thoroughly enjoyed those books. But I didn't know it was a book series until I seen the movie. So I kind of went in reverse. So when I first initially watched the movie, I was like, wow, this is a pretty cool movie for what it was, And then I found out they had some books. So I went back and read the books. And the books were way better than the motherfucking movie. So, that's just a comparison. So I imagine the podcast is something like that. I haven't listened to it yet, but with that being said, I'll listen to it rather sooner than later. What else we got? We got the Nth Cast, and that's NTH. And you can follow them on Twitter at NTH Cast. So that's NTHCAST. It's a podcast for extreme nerds. That's what they say. So they talk about movies and television to the 9th degree. See that? Play on words. 9th Cast. Go ahead and look them up. And we have... What else? Horribly Awkward Show. Haven't listened to it yet. So, horribly awkward trying to talk about it. But it's a dude, an awkward dude, who loves hearing himself talk, kind of like me in a way. So there's the parallels between this show and that show. So give him a listen. And you can follow him on Twitter at awkward_podcast. Hear what the dude got to say. I know he got a Facebook. He gave me a follow on my Facebook page. So, yeah, shout outs to that guy. And then we have highly recommended. And this show is about stuff. Hey, that's all they got in the description. So, with that title, highly recommended, you might think they talk about weed. But hey, that's not for me to say. I haven't listened to the podcast, so it's just my assumption. And you know what you do when you assume sometimes. You make an ass out of you and me. All right. I already talked about him earlier. Mr. Gareth Thomas. Going ahead, he's hosting the Gareth's Random Ramblings. Kind of got choked up on my words there, but it's kind of at random that happens. See how I did that? Random Ramblings. So give this guy a freaking follow on Twitter. You can hit him at ENOZORIA on Twitter. And you can download this podcast on iTunes and everywhere else that you get your podcast from. And like I said, it's him and his old lady just talking about random shit. I listened to the latest 3.5 episodes. They did a quickie. They went to see Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. They gave it a good review. So based on that review alone, I might go check the movie out. Haven't read the book though. So refer back to books versus movies. They might have a podcast on the books versus the movie. So see how we tie it together here in the podcast universe, in the umbrella here. What else we got? Cave Crew. We got Cave Crew Radio. It's a live comedy every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. So they do live comedies and things. So you can hit them up on Twitter at Cave Crew Radio. That's Cave Crew Radio. And what else we got? We have a British podcast. That was a bad British accent. I'll probably never do that again. It's called It's Real to Me, Dammit. And where they speak about professional wrestlings and things that I like. So give them a listen if you're into the professional wrestlings. I know there's like 1,000 billion trillion of the professional wrestling podcasts, but hey, this one might be one of the better ones. Haven't listened to it yet, so I can't really formulate an opinion, but as I said, I'll wind up getting around to all these because, support your local podcaster or foreign podcaster. You get what the fuck I'm saying. All right, next we got, let's see, A Dad's View podcast. This is a safe place, parenting and relationships from a dad's perspective, a dad's view. So there you go. Check it out. Parenting advice and everything from a dad's perspective. I'm a father, so I'm inclined to listen to this podcast because they might give me some helpful tints. I said tints. Goddamn. Hopefully they're not pitching tints or anything, but they'll give you some helpful tips. Give me some helpful tips in the area of parenting from a father's perspective because I need all the helps I can get. What else we got? We got Our Hero Comics. I don't know if it's a podcast, but I see them on my Twitter, so I'm giving them a plug. That's Our Hero Comic. You can follow them on Twitter. Go ahead and do that. We got Choked Out Radio. It's a podcast. They do news and they analyze MMA and pro wrestling. And you can sponsor them. They got some sponsoring information down there. But you can follow them on Twitter at Choked Out Radio. So hit them up. We got, what else? We got the Jupiter Boys. 2 boys playing with their mind wieners. Ugh. Okay, sure. Haven't listened to this one yet, so I guess I gotta listen to that to hear what Playing with Mind Wiener sound like. They do an episode every Sunday. You can find their podcast on iTunes and wherever else you can find your awesomely awesome podcasts. And then we have WhatThaWhat Podcast. WhatThaWhat Podcast, the show that'll leave you saying, what the fuck? I've already said it, so there's no need for me to say it again. And that's the WhatThaWhat Podcast. You can follow them on Twitter at WhatThaWhat, and that's THA. So that's WhatTha Podcast, all one word. You can follow them on Twitter. And what else? We got Super Hot Girls 3 giving me a follow. Got nothing but naked bitches on there. So if you like naked bitches, go ahead and give them a follow. We got author Mick, Mears. You can follow him on Twitter at that's small. That's CYRILSMUG. That's Krill Smug. Like I said, horrible with pronunciations, but I can spell it out for you. That's at CYRILSMUG. You got a line of books that you might be interested in, so go ahead and give them a look. If you go to his Twitter page, he has a link to his catalog, so you can go ahead and do that. And then I got a follower from Valerie. Valerie is a journalist featured on Teen Vogue, Vanity Fair, Latina, MTV, etc. And she is also an author. Go ahead and give her a follow at Valerie. I can't say your last name. I am so freaking sorry. So I'm going to spell it out for you. That's Valerie, VALERIETEJEDA. See, that's why I need a co-host, somebody that can read better than I can. So she's an author and a journalist. Go ahead, if you need some of those services, give her a holler. And then we got another author, one of my first verified accounts that follows the Random Ramblings with Rob Twitter account, and that's Brent McCluskey, and you can follow him on Twitter at Brent McCluskey, all one word. And he's a social media editor, a skateboarding guy. He's a writer of words, a reader of books, a slayer of dragons. Freaking level 80 mage. A level 80 mage. I imagine that's impressive because he put it on his Twitter account. And he's verified. So, yeah, that's got to be some good shit. So if you need some advice on your writings and whatnot, maybe some skateboarding, you can go ahead and hit him up on Twitter. Just got a new follow. Who's this? Skip to the end. That's what probably some of you do with my podcast when you hear me freaking stumble over words and can't pronounce shit. But this is the Skip to the End podcast. You can follow them on Twitter. No shit. But at STTE podcast. That's all one word. That's STTE podcast. They review movies and they have fun because they're friends talking about movies and shit. And if you ever sat around and talked about movies or whatever you guys are passionate about with your friends, I can imagine that's some good shit. So go ahead and give their podcast a listen. You can find it on Podomatic, and it looks like they have an Instagram account, so you can hit them up on Instagram at Skip to the End podcast. And what else we got here? Storybreakers. You can follow them on Twitter at Storybreakers, all one word. And this is a podcast to where they come up with brand new film plots every single episode. And if you can dig it, it's yours. So anybody out in Hollywood that may hear this, which is possibly likely. I mean, like I said, I got one verified author, which probably has his fingers in the goddamn the Hollywood community. You know, he might refer them to this podcast and get, some scripts written up and everybody can make some monies. I would require maybe 2% of all profits because I plugged it on my show, and I would be very appreciative if I got that sent to me in cash, all unmarked bills and whatnot. But the Story Breakers podcast, you can follow them on Twitter once again at Story Breakers, and I'm gonna have to listen to this because I want to see how they do it. I mean, I'm creative to a fault or to an extent. I mean, I came up with some pretty cool things. Hey, I made my logo for this show, so I have some kind of creative juices flowing through me somewhere. So, I mean, I'm interested as to how they come up with a different plot, or what's the process they do to come up with a different plot every episode. So I'm going to look forward to listening to that. And I think that's it. Oh, I want to plug this app, which I think is pretty fucking cool. Is Clammr Radio, and that's Clammr Radio. You can follow the app on Twitter if you want some more information. They have good customer service, and they always striving to make their product a little bit better. They'll direct message you and ask you what you like about the app and what you don't like about the app, which is very rare from what I've seen in my experiences with other apps. But that's the Clammr Radio app, and you can follow it on Twitter at Clammr app, all one word. That's CLAMMR app. And what it is pretty much like how movies would make they'll make like a little sizzle reel, a trailer, you know, hyping up their movies and everything like that. You can do the same thing with your audio, or if you're in a band or you do some kind of music, you can just pretty much take your music or your podcast or whatever and make little sample clips, and you can post them to Twitter, Facebook, and wherever else you want to post it at. And what's cool about it, they'll have I think the maximum length is 24 seconds, but they have the option on the link to, like, say if I pull this up on Twitter, it'll show my 24 seconds or however long you make your sample, and they'll have the option on that link to listen to the whole episode in its entirety, or the whole song or whatever that you post up there. So I think that's pretty fucking cool, especially for people that are doing podcasts. So if anybody is listening to me right now, I recommend you download this app, because I mean, it helps. Anything that you can do to put yourself out there more, and however many creative ways you can put yourself out there, I would recommend that you try it. And you know, that's the great thing about doing this podcast and following other podcasters. You know, you learn from their mistakes, or you can gain that advice from them. And that's how I kind of stumbled upon this app. I think it was recommended from the Master Debaters podcast. And let me pull that up so I can see if I got my facts straight. Yep, it was the Master Debaters podcast, which you can follow them on Twitter at _Master Debaters. Yeah. And just to recap on that podcast is three wrestlers, they're homeboys, they're daggone hang out together, they podcast together, they're lifelong friends and shit. So look it up. It's a good podcast. And what else? And I think that's it. I mean, it's just me. I done run my suck for almost an hour, and that's military terms. That's the only things that you can get away with saying in the military. I guarantee you, if I was out in the civilian world, I would probably get fired over saying some shit like that. So I'm gonna have to start working on my professional language here pretty soon. But yeah, you've heard all the podcasts that I've recommended and gave shout outs to. So go ahead and show your support for those podcasts. Shout out to everybody in the Podern Family Network. I know I don't really retweet the hashtag, but I retweet your shows and everything just to show that support for a fellow podcaster. Once again, you can follow me on Twitter at RRR_podcast. Fuck it, you can follow my personal Twitter account if you like wrestlings and things like that, because that's all I really do. I talk about wrestling, retweet wrestling, maybe some video games, and if it's after 10 p.m. Central and before 5 a.m. Central, I got the other things that I tweet about. You have to tune in via those hours to see what I'm talking about. But shit, I didn't even plug my personal account. That's at It's B Rob. That's ITSBROB. That's me, B Rob. It's B Rob. That's my Twitter account. If you want to follow me for the wrestling and randomness, hit me up. And don't forget the Facebook, which you can just go ahead and search on your Facebook for Random Ramblings with Rob. I'll pop right on up. You can give me a like. Post some random shit on my random Facebook wall or whatever they call it. And also, I got an Instagram. You can search It's B Rob. That's ITSBROB. Or you can search for Random Ramblings with Rob. Same thing. I done converted my personal Instagram account into the show Instagram account because I don't really use it as much. So I'll just take random pictures of my equipment because that's random and plug my show on there. I got some audio up on YouTube from the show, which, referring back to the Instagram account, I took pictures of some of my photography equipment, and I plan to incorporate maybe some videos here pretty soon. But you can also find the audio form of my podcast on YouTube, which, like I said, you can search Random Ramblings with Rob, and it'll pop up some way, somehow. And what else I got? Periscope. I do a Periscope every now and then, so you can look up Random Ramblings with Rob on Periscope, or you can look up my personal account, which is at It's B Rob on Periscope. I hardly use that, but if I feel the urge to, I'll make sure everybody knows. Shazam. Once again, I appreciate each and every one of you who are out there listening, giving me tweets and retweets. And I'll see you next time. Booyah, Shaka Khan, all that shit.